mix a little bit more. Looks like I'm going to need to make another trip to the art store soon. Ah, voila, cerulean blue. Little squirt, like so. Now the tone's a little bit more blue than it was a while ago. That's fine. See, what I'm just trying to do here is give a base tone. So since this is more bluish, I'm thinking I could probably use this to draw out my my tree area. So I want to divide the painting into 3 sections, 3 routes, something like so here. So this third here would be where the tree line is going to be. Trying not to be too regular and be kind of a little chaos is good, a little randomness is good. You never want to have an even pattern, an even rhythm. Unless, of course, rhythm is part of the effect you want to have here. But here, chaos is a big, important part of nature. Now, the trees are here and there's water underneath here. There's going to be some color from this that's going to come down. So on the third line, divided into 3. The sky is up to the first third. The middle third is the trees, and then the bottom third is the water. But in the border between the two, it's going to be some beach or some form of sand or something like that. We'll let some of that base color show. Now I have broad brush strokes coming up in here and down, just like big streaks and stuff. I kind of want it to be very randomized. I'm just coming through and just randomly throwing in, you know, just laying the brush flat like that gives a different texture. If I lay it, you know, standing up and stuff, I can just do all kinds of different little squiggly little things. There's all kinds of ways to use a brush. It's not just like noodling like very little, you know what I mean? You know, it doesn't need to be that detailed. What's important is to have stuff to have the eye play on, you know? Texture. See that? All these nice wet streaks and kind of smudges and all kinds of abstract shapes going on in there. So basically, just trying to pick up some color with the tip of the brush, like so. Maybe catch a little bit of white with that, or this is gesso, I should say. And that's it, just a nice wet brush. And just randomly hop here and there, lay some color down, pick some up. See here, this is dripping here. I don't necessarily want it to drip, so I'll come in here and just go sideways on the drips, and it kind of picks up some of the color. So while that's drying, could maybe talk a little bit about planning ahead. You see, I'm just trying to lay down some shadows and just to determine where I'm going to have stuff. I don't want to get into a lot of fine little details at the beginning of the painting. details come in after. And although it's the hardest thing to resist, to take that fine little brush and get the right little beautiful little leaves and all the little branches and all that stuff, because that's really what I want to get to right away. I have to resist that. It's so important to resist that, because you can get lost in it, and then you realize that it just doesn't work, and sometimes you have to change the whole color area that you spent the whole time noodling on, and that doesn't work. So you want to stay broad, large brushes, broad brush strokes, and build up detail gradually over time, and let the little happy little accidents, all that noodling and all that little texture I just applied there, that's going to give me stuff to work with that right now it doesn't look like anything, but a squiggle or a smear might suggest a branch, or it might suggest a tree trunk, or it might suggest, you know, a little Buffy hiding in the shadows. Which my thought asked to not have any animals in there, so I guess I'm going to have to forego the Buffy in the shadows, but so be it. So it's just been a few seconds here, and already this is fairly dry, and this is, I just applied this. Some of this is, you know, I can pick up some of the thicker wet stuff. And at this point you can actually, when it's partially dry, you could take a piece of fabric and just pick up some color here and there, and it can give you some really interesting effects. It's important to experiment quite a bit with your paint and how it behaves at different stages of drying. Sometimes laying it flat and throwing in very wet paint, very good layer of very wet paint, you can throw down some rock salt or something that'll absorb some color, and it gives you some weird kind of smudgy effects and weird kind of psychedelic kind of things. You know, you do that sometimes with watercolor. You can work also with acrylic. But yeah, it's getting there. Yeah. All right, so I think I'm ready to start going for the next stage of colors. Did I mention bug spray? Oh my. Mosquitoes found me. I don't like the idea of covering myself up with a poison, but I like the idea of being stuck with a bunch of little insectoid vampires even less so. Just kind of roughly suggesting some trees, and I'm trying not to have a regular, you know, there's a big one here and there's kind of like almost a regular pattern, so I'm going to put one close here. And by often dipping my brush in the water, I'm applying very transparent color. This is raw color. It's not mixed with white yet. It's white so dark, but also it allows me to see some of the colors coming underneath. I'm not trying to hide the colors underneath. I'm trying to add to the textures underneath. I want to see these brush strokes show through a little bit. So in this painting, what I'm going to try to do is hint at symmetry, but have it completely random, so that the mind is kind of looking for that symmetry, but not quite finding it, leaving that kind of unanswered question. It's not something that's going to be conscious when you're looking at the painting, but if your trees are set in a regular pattern, you're going to lock onto that right away. So I'm trying to see if there's regular patterns, and I might notice it later on that there is one. I have a tendency, it's a psychological thing, I don't know why, but I have a tendency to put trees and elements in a regular rhythm, and that's not good. Now, lightness attracts the eye, so I like to have my corners dark. I don't want people's eyes on the corner. I don't want your eye to play in the middle. I want you to avoid the corners. The whole trick of this is to deceive the eye, to entertain the eye, to make the viewer of your work always coming back for more and always seeing more every time they look. The way to do that is to be unpredictable, even to yourself. Now, some things are obvious, like darkening the corners. You don't want your corners to be more interesting than the middle.